The ancient inhabitants of Caria, known as the Carians, lived on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. Caria was unique because, unlike its neighboring cultures, it had queens who ruled its lands. Despite the technicalities of her title, the king's daughter, Artemisia, was often called a queen anyway for her fame and power. The king himself tried to maintain an all-male line of succession by passing the power to Artemisia's husband after his own death. However, her husband died so quickly and had such little impact on history that not even his name is remembered. Artemisia herself claimed the throne around 480 BCE, just as the whole Persian Empire received a new ruler, King Xerxes. She was given a premium position in the regional hierarchy due to her loyalty to the previous Persian king, and when Xerxes marshaled his forces to invade Greece, Artemisia was made the commanding admiral of the Carian Greeks in the Persian navy. The Carian queen's power was now equal to the neighboring kings, as well as even Xerxes' own brother. During the Battle of Salamis, Xerxes wanted his generals and admirals to propose a strategy. His appointed commanders wanted to wipe out his enemies entirely with one final naval confrontation. Artemisia alone counseled against this. As a naval tactician, she feared the narrow confines of the Strait of Salamis. Xerxes praised her wisdom, but ultimately yielded to the other commanders, and ordered the fleet, including her ship, to assault Salamis anyway. The resulting battle was a disaster for the Persian navy as a whole, but a general success for the queen. Just as she feared, the narrow strait made it impossible for the huge Persian fleet to maneuver properly, crashing into one another just as often as they were able to ram enemy ships. From the cliffs overlooking the battle, Xerxes praised the queen as she sank her foes. When the odds fully turned against her, Artemisia was prepared. She ordered her crew to pull down their Persian flag and raise an obscure Greek banner in its place, before ramming one of the other Persian ships to convince the Greek allies that it was one of their own, which gave her the opportunity to escape. Because she proved her capabilities to King Xerxes, he entrusted the queen personally with carrying 2 of his sons back to Caria as fast as she could to ensure the imperial line of succession. The Carian queen remained loyal to Persia for 20 years before her death, and according to a poet, she leaped to her death, trying to win the love of a great captain on the advice of an oracle, and Caria passed to her only son. The next Carian queen came to power in 353 BCE, after her husband's passing. She was known as Queen Artemisia II. Her late husband, Mausolus, was known for restoring a city as the capital of Caria, and following his death, Artemisia II ordered the construction of an elaborate tomb for her husband in the same city as a remembrance. It was one of the grandest graves ever constructed, considered a peer to the pyramids of Giza, and was named the Mausoleum, the place of Mausolus. It was destroyed by a series of earthquakes and stayed in ruins for hundreds of years until it was completely dismantled in 1494. According to legend, Mausolus was never even placed inside of the tomb. Instead, the queen supposedly mixed his ashes into her drinks for the rest of her life, so they would never truly be apart. In 344 BCE, the king passed away again, transitioning power to his own wife, Queen Ada. During her reign, she was challenged by her brother, who staged a coup against her, and a Carian civil war broke out. Her brother won, and Ada was chased out of the capital. 10 years later, Alexander the Great landed in Anatolia, and Ada met with him to gift him the land she once ruled, and declare him the legal heir to the Carian throne. In return, Alexander declared Ada his adopted mother, and together they besieged the capital, and she became the sovereign ruler once again. Queen Ada died in 326 BCE, officially passing the throne to Alexander the Great. On Mount Latmos, the Carians worshipped Endymion, who was the lover of the moon, and slept eternally in the sanctuary devoted to him. Some sources suppose that he was a shepherd from Caria. Others suggest that he was an astronomer. Either profession provides justification for the time spent gazing at the moon. Pliny the Elder mentions Endymion as the first human to observe the movements of the moon. In ancient Greek mythology, Celine is the personification of the moon, and is known for driving her moon chariot across the heavens. Apollonius of Rhodes in the 3rd century BCE wrote how Celine, the Titan goddess of the moon, loved the mortal Endymion and found him to be so beautiful that she asked her father Zeus to grant him eternal youth so that way he would never leave her. Celine also loved how he looked when he was asleep, so she asked Zeus to keep him in an eternal slumber. Within Elden Ring, the Carians are a family that originated from the ancient astrologers, and are possibly related to the moonfolk as well through shared beliefs in the power of the moon. Rennala is the queen of the Royal Carians and the governess of the Royal Academy. It is stated that even in her youth she was a prominent champion, and established the House of Caria as royalty. Royal Carian could have been a translation error, and instead should have been Royal Carian, which means the Royal Carian Academy. Although the school is not founded by the Carian family, Rennala charmed the academy with her lunar magic, becoming its master. Her following was so great that Lazuli Conspectus mages still protect the halls, even after she's been locked away in the Grand Library. The age of the Erd Tree weakened the Carian family's power because the golden amber of the Erd Tree became more popular than the study of the stars. Then, a war took place during the Greater Will's conquest of Liurnia, where Radagon, with the backing of the Golden Order, fought against Queen Rennala and her Carian knights. Although the descriptions do paint Rennala as deeply in love with Radagon, the strategy of union to avoid large-scale conflict proved effective in this case, and it reminded me of Artemisia's strategic abilities. In this case, to marry in order to ensure less bloodshed for her people. When Rennala lost her husband, Radagon, her heart went along with him. And then, those of the Academy realized that Rennala was no champion after all. The Carian queens, both historical and fictional, are involved in tragic love tales. Queen Artemisia leapt from a rock. The rock was known to cure those from the passion of love. Queen Artemisia II was said to have mixed the ashes of her dead husband into her drinks, so that they could be together for the remainder of her life. And Queen Rennala lost her sanity and sense of self when her love left her to be with another, creating the opportunity for her subjects to lock her away. Before Rennala joined the academy, the scholars focused their studies on the stars, but with her arrival came a new conspectus, named Lazuli, based off the powers of the full moon. The split of the moon and the stars reflects the divide of the Carian knights serving the royals, and the Cuckoos primarily serving the academy, but ultimately serving themselves. There has always been inner conflict brewing within Liurnia, which mirrors the historical Carian civil war that we mentioned earlier. Quick side note, the historical Carians were referred to as a term used to identify a rooster by the Persians on account of them wearing crests of roosters on their helms. Meanwhile, within the lands between, there is an order of knights from the same region as the Carians, known as the Cuckoo Knights, or the Royal Carian Academy Knights. They adorn a single cuckoo's feather as a symbol of their order on their helms as well. The bird cages of Royal Carian contain cuckoos. In Japan, the cuckoo symbolizes unrequited love. Some species are brood parasites, laying their eggs in the nests of other birds, which gives rise to the metaphor of the cuckoo's egg. There could be a connection with the cuckoo's egg and the amber egg. The amber egg was gifted by Radagon to Rennala before he abandoned her to become the second Elden Lord. It's a source of great power, and the amber is in fact sap derived from the Erd Tree. The amber egg does resemble a uterus. In-game, it serves as a way to rebirth your character both physically and mentally. The material used to rebirth you is called the larval tear, which is a creature of mimicry. Cuckoos are also mimics and can adapt their feathers to appear as birds whose nests they invade. Could the amber egg have a connection to Ranni? The connection bridging the gap of understanding to how she was born with the status of being an Empyrean. This due to her birth being a combination of Radagon and the egg, which are both parts of one true god, the Greater Will. Interestingly, Ranni's doll body is similar to the marionette dolls employed as protection by the sorcerers throughout the lands between. The same dolls are found in the Church of the Cuckoo, along with many cuckoo birds still locked away in their cages. I would like to quickly mention that Lunar Princess Ranni does follow in Rennala's footsteps, as her fate is tied to the moon. As in the myth of Endymion, Ranni is also deeply in love with the moon, and goes into a deep sleep during our time visiting her within the Three Sisters, just as Endymion was cursed with eternal slumber. Finally, there's a location in the game called the Mausoleum Compound, where you will find the largest gathering of walking mausoleums. I do find it rather interesting that the largest group would be found in Liurnia, given that these are crypts for the demigods, most likely related to the Golden Order, and therefore you could assume that they would naturally want to be closer to their source of power, the Erd Tree. This location did remind me of Queen Artemisia II's legendary mausoleum she built to honor the memory of her late husband, Mausolus. To conclude, both versions of the Carians we spoke about today had powerful queens, a connection to mausoleums, unique bird-influenced armor, and looked to the moon as a living deity. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful week.